What's going on, everyone? So for a while I've been trying to and kind of planning out to make sort of a Cyberpunk 2077 my experience, just to kind of get my voice out there and stuff like that. And while I do have most of my opinions over on the Neo Vintage podcast, which is over on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Neo Vintage Games, just look it up. Most of my opinions have been there, what I felt about the game and stuff like that. But it's been weird because I've had such a different experience than some people. Not most people. Some people have kind of had this sort of similar experience to me. So, I wanted to kind of just rant a little bit, get it out there, just some random stuff where my more formal and thought out stuff is over on Neo Vintage Games. I thought, why not just kind of do a whatever rant, I guess, on here. It coincided with, obviously, Cyberpunk 2077's announcement yesterday. The co-founder of Cyberpunk, of CD Projekt, released his commitment to quality. And I started watching it, and I was like, you know what, let me stop and give it a second. And why not record it and see what it really is? So it's their co-founder, one of their co-founders there. So we'll kind of just not pick and choose, but like kind of pick at what he has to say and what it exactly means for the consumers. Now, for my background, I am playing the Xbox One version on an Xbox Series X. So it's not the next-gen version. People were sort of confused. There is no next-gen version yet. I heard apparently they talk about it in this video. We'll see. So I'm playing the backwards compatibility version. So I guess I'm technically playing it on Xbox One X is what everyone's comparing it to. And I had an okay experience where I really enjoyed a lot of the game. I just didn't enjoy when the game didn't let me play it. Obviously, the bugs, the crashes, all those things kind of go on. And you've seen millions and millions of compilations now. Some get actually pretty funny. So let's see what he has to say.
My name is Marcin Iwiński. I'm the co-founder of
Mark
Cyberpunk.
Iwiński.
When I started Cyberpunk 25 years ago, one of its founding principles was honest and direct communication with gamers. When Cyberpunk Red,
So honest and direct communication with gamers, and that's something they've been talking about for even pre-Witcher 3. And a lot of people are holding CD Projekt Red so accountable because of, I guess, they thought Witcher 3 released in such a fantastic way. Where really a lot of people are just getting to Witcher 3 now thanks to the Netflix series, and there was a huge cult following even before that. The Witcher 3 did not launch in the greatest state. I played it on PlayStation 4 at release, and it was nowhere near this state of brokenness, but it was there. And the few interviews that I've seen with him is he's always kind of stuck and saying to that quality, and this is what it is, and that's how he wants to be treated, and that's their belief.
it added something important to that principle: the ambition to make the best games in the world.
Okay.
It became our mission and something that guided us up until now. Based on that legacy of genuine and honest communication, you've trusted us and pre-ordered our game. And despite good reviews on PC, the console version of Cyberpunk 2077 did not meet the quality standard we wanted it to meet. I and the entire...
So it's mixed bag there, because I've seen a lot of people stream from their PC versions. I did try the PC version as well. I did refund it when I saw it wasn't too different from what I was getting on console. So it's interesting. CD Projekt Red has always been a PC-centric company. This is what they did with Witchers and stuff. The 3 Witcher games, where most game companies will go from console and port it to PC and then just kind of up-res it to, max out graphics cards. CD Projekt, I believe, has always done it the other way, and I've heard that said from a few different places. Angry Joe, I'm a huge fan of Angry Joe. He actually went and had dinner with this guy one time. And he's always said that where they kind of, that's just what their culture is. That's where they focus on. So my thing is, from what we played on PC, I played PC on day one. It was not that great. So again, it's kind of weirdness. I do appreciate that, he's just pretty much as high as this company goes. The buck stops with him. It was unacceptable that this game released that way. I'm okay that they were okay with releasing the PC version, I guess, but it definitely wasn't the best.
are deeply sorry for this, and this video is me publicly owning up to that.
Which is good.
Please,
Clarity.
don't fault any of our teams for what happened. They all are incredibly talented and hardworking. Myself and the board are the final decision makers, and it was our call to release the game. Although, believe me, we never ever intended for anything like this to happen.
So it was his decision and the board, and I probably assume it was more the board. We've been kind of talking everywhere in the community, not just on Neo Vintage Games, that it had to be the higher ups that pushed this game out. The developers have been talking about how they weren't ready for the game, that they knew the game wasn't ready, and yet it's still released. Now, he just admitted it, and I'm sure he had lawyers there present, read over the script constantly to avoid issues, that they decided to release the game in this state, which is, tough. It's hard.
That we'll do our best to regain your trust. Now I'd like to tell you how the situation looked like from the inside.
Let's see.
Cyberpunk 2077 is huge in scope. And I'm not only talking about quests or things you see at first glance. I'm talking about a multitude of custom objects, interacting systems, and mechanics. In the game, everything is...
A lot of those mechanics are missing, though. All the content.
Less taxing hardware-wise, but condensed in one big city and in a relatively loading-free environment. On its own, this is a challenge. But we made it even more difficult for ourselves by wanting to make the game look epic on PCs and then adjusting it to consoles, especially old gens.
So there's the admission to that, where they wanted to look amazing on PC, then kind of work their way backwards to consoles, which is going to fuel into the whole PC versus console wars, and the consoles are holding these systems back. I think they were caught more in a bad year or bad transition, because not only did they have to do console and PC, they had to do PS4, PS4 Slim, PS4 Pro, Xbox, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, on top of the new generation of PS5s and the two Xboxes series that are out. So they probably were overwhelmed. I think they did want to do the right thing and not cut out anybody specifically, which is why they didn't just release it on new gen. They did not say, hey, it does not run well on the old gen, obviously, because sales and stuff like that.
That was our core assumption.
And content-wise, he's talking about how all these mechanics need to work together and stuff like that. That stuff, still not fixed from the last time I played my Cyberpunk. You have to remember the police AI is completely garbage. They spawn in bathrooms. They spawn invisible. If you run a block, it's there. The driving mechanics don't work that well. They're very slidey and icy. And we have all those other issues. Your phone's going off constantly. How many times do I have to be interrupted that someone's selling a car? I don't care.
Things
But
did not look super difficult at first. We knew the hardware gap, yes, but ultimately, I think that time has proven that we've underestimated the task. To give you a concrete example, and the main culprit, we had to constantly improve our in-game streaming system for all-gen consoles. Streaming is responsible for feeding the engine with what you see on screen, as well as the game mechanics. And since the city is so packed and the disk bandwidth of all gens is what it is, it constantly challenged us.
Now, a small caveat and kind of issue I have is he keeps referring to the PlayStation 4 family and the Xbox One family as old gen. You have to realize that new gen didn't launch until 2 weeks before your game launched, so it's pretty premature to start saying old gen. It's old hardware. It's old hardware. That was current hardware. Your game was being designed, in full production for 6 years. On this hardware before you got hands on PS5, before you got hands on Xbox Series. So that's kind of rough to take. And again, I'm not a corporate fat cat. I'm just saying it as a consumer, what I see. We're still referring to PS5 and Xbox Series, even though they have released as next gen, because we haven't really moved on yet. Where the PS4 family, Xbox One family is still current.
Every change and improvement needed to be tested, and as it turned out, our testing did not show a big part of the issues you experienced while playing the game.
Who tested the game then? And I'm not trying to get at the QAs and the testers, because I know, they probably don't get paid. I don't know what the pay rate is and what it is. But the fact is that statement has to be kind of micromanaged, because all you had to do was start the game and you knew the game was not working well on almost all the consoles. I've not played on the older systems. I have someone who did, and they say it is really bad and stuff like that, but saying that we did not know or did we not see that coming.
Closer to the final release, we saw significant improvements each and every day, and we really believed we would deliver in the final day zero update. Now let's talk about the review process. We started sending our PC review keys in the first days of December. On launch day, December 10th, we hit the ground running with a really good start on PC. While not perfect, it's a version of Cyberpunk we are very proud of. At the same time, we're fighting for quality on all-gen consoles till the very last moment. And every extra day of us working on the Day Zero update brought visible improvement. This is why we started sending console review keys on the 8th of December, which was later than we originally planned.
Wow, two days.
While working from home with all the challenges resulting from the COVID-related restrictions. A lot of the dynamics we normally take for granted got lost over video calls or email.
Now, I get it. We're in the middle of a pandemic. This game was supposed to be released in April, and you kept pushing it and kept pushing it. You pushed it so far to the point that most people didn't believe. I didn't believe this game was being released. I didn't think it should have been released till March, which would have been almost a full year past its original date. And if big companies like Microsoft just did that with Halo, the company's Hogwarts Legacy, I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but that game just got delayed into the next year. Dying Light 2's been MI for a long time. It may be dead at this point. No pun intended. But it's interesting to see that they're trying now you're kind of playing the COVID route. You could have just delayed the game into February and March and just blamed it from COVID from beginning.
Now I'd like to tell you about our plans for the future.
Before he goes into the future plans, giving companies, influencers, console keys 2 days ahead of time. On top of that, we've gotten a lot of articles that, a lot of the footage wasn't allowed to be used, and they were very scrutiny and picky on what footage was allowed to use. Kind of shows a lot of bad rep, because it means you did know there was issues and you were hiding it. And they've admitted to that. They have admitted to that. I'm not making that up.
Path for Cyberpunk 2077 on consoles and PC. We have already released 3 hotfixes improving the game, but
one of those hotfixes made it worse, to be honest.
Our goal is to fix the bugs and crashes gamers are experiencing across platforms. Please expect bigger and smaller patches on a regular basis. The first update will be dropping within 10 days, and it will be followed by another, more significant one in the following weeks. We will, of course, continue to work on the game.
They've said that we're getting a big one in January and a big one in February.
Supporting Cyberpunk in the long term did not change. As for the 3D,
in the long term did not change. Now remember, there is a multiplayer being released at some point. Obviously, that'll probably be way later, or it'll probably be even released almost separately. This is a very sad excuse for a roadmap. So you had the release, then you had hotfix 04, 05, and 06. I heard 05 was the one that kind of damaged it. I had experienced a lot of problems when I played that updated version of it. Well, the 1.06 hotfix helped a lot of those mistakes. So now we're in 2021, and in the beginning we have patch 1.1 and 1.2, which are going to be apparently one in January. You're saying 10 days. This was posted yesterday, so you're looking by the end of January we should get a big overhaul, and then I think February is what they said for 1.2. Then you have just a giant gap of, and you guys can see it here, no dates, no nothing. Free DLCs, which is something we got, and this scares me right here. The free next-gen console update is almost in 2022, and at that point, I don't know if anyone's gonna want to play this game.
Delivered then just after the release, much like we did with The Witcher 3. We decided to focus on the most important fixes and updates first, and we'll be releasing the DLCs afterwards. Expect more information in the upcoming months. For those of you playing on next-gen consoles in back compatibility, you can still expect the free next-gen update for Xbox Series consoles and PlayStation 5 arriving in 2021. We are aiming at the second half of the year. I'd like to end this video.
The second half of the year for PlayStation 5, the native PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series versions. I think that's it's going to be a little too late. It's too little too late, honestly, unless it's coincided with some great DLCs and stuff. I may be completely past this game. I mean, the article just came out. Isn't it like 75% of players are done? I've dropped, as the Steam numbers, 70% of players has dropped, 80% of players have dropped. And that's kind of tongue-in-cheek because this is a single-player game. Obviously, there's no multiplayer, there's no GTA Online. That's like if you looked at GTA numbers without GTA Online, the numbers would have dropped crazy. If there was a multiplayer to have people to come back to, that's one thing. A lot of people, I think, are taking my approach where they beat it once, got one ending. Before they jump in more, they're going to probably wait until it's fixed. I just think second half of 2021... you're getting to territory where these big hitters are coming out. You're going to have the Halos coming out. You have Sony's first parties coming out. On top of that, a new Call of Duty will be out. Far Cry will be out by this point. Everything else is not even announced. That'll be past what our E3 time would be and all these conferences. So many games will probably be announced and released by the time you're giving people their next gen version. And the only thing that may help that bump is that the next gens I know are still kind of difficult to find. I got lucky, was able to get both. But by that time, it may be way too little too late, unless you're just getting a PS5 and you think, well, Cyberpunk might work.
We treat this entire situation very seriously and are working hard to make it right. The guiding principles of our company are still core to what we do. We still want to make amazing games and have an open communication with you, our players. For now, our immediate focus is to work hard on making sure you enjoy Cyberpunk 2077 regardless of platform. Beyond Cyberpunk, we have many plans for the future, which we'll share more about when we're ready.
Probably multiplayer.
Time to watch this video.
So a 5-minute apology, and I think it's okay because I didn't expect the higher ups to even come out. They've been doing a lot of blog posts and stuff like that, and this was attached to another blog post, kind of talking about more issues and stuff like that and things they want to focus on. Now, it's a big move and it's a big pride move. It's probably part of the culture that they even did this, that he came out and recorded this. Now, obviously, again, like I said, this speech probably ran through like a couple lawyers to make sure, because I know they're in a midst of issues, and they can't come out and say, we knew the original PlayStation 4 and Xbox One was going to be broken when you played this game, and we released it anyway. Obviously, he did not say that. He said he did not know, and to what extent. Now, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek lie, because you guys knew it was this bad, and you kind of, I guess, thought, I don't know where you guys thought that was going to go, the board, him, whoever made those decisions. So, I mean, my heart still goes out to CD Projekt Red and everyone over there in the Cyberpunk community, because I did enjoy the game. I do really like the game. I've been wanting to go back to it, but I want to wait until I can play it in a state that I know you guys want us to. So, I commend them for coming out multiple times, and now this is probably the sort of final stop in that. Like, here's our co-founder saying he's sorry, we're gonna fix this, here's our plans to fix it, and that's probably gonna be the last push until we start getting positive feedback, until we get the 1.1 fix and the 1.2 fix, and we'll see how it is. And I may jump into that point if I still do have cravings to play Cyberpunk, because I enjoyed a lot of the characters, I enjoyed the world and stuff like that. I may have to go back and purchase it on PC and just play it that way, because I can't wait till the other half of 2021, because I'm going to be playing so many other games. Now, if this lines up with some DLCs, maybe that works, but from what I'm saying, from what that timestamp looked like, it doesn't look like it's going to be close. Free DLCs, then the next gen update. And those are, I know this is just a grid, but this is a pretty big gap. Next gen console update, that's going to be fall 2021. And that's, Broketober, as Angry Joe likes to say. That's the big, heavy hitting seasons of video games. So, I'm hoping the best of luck to Cyberpunk. I know they're going to turn it around. I think this video was really like their final, hey, we know we messed up, we're going to fix it. And now we're hoping just from here on, things get better. We hope that, Cyberpunk's constantly in the news. They're really the only news we were talking about for so long. Now let's give them the time and space to fix the game. The holidays are over, things like that have switched. COVID is still a thing, but let's see what they can do, and let's see if they can make their dream come true. They want this game to be successful. They want this game to hit what they wanted it to do. So we're going to keep an eye out for them and keep supporting them if you trust them. If not, we understand that too. We can't trust all these company games. Luckily we haven't been hit with crazy microtransactions and battle passes and stuff in Cyberpunk yet. We'll see what happens later on. The DLCs are being free. We don't know what that accustoms to, a couple more missions and things like that. So we'll keep an eye out on it. I really enjoyed Cyberpunk. That was my experience. I had bugs, I had some crashes, but I was able to get all the way through to one ending, and I want to wait till the game's in a better state, in a better looking state, before I get more into it, before I go for the other endings and different runs, different characters. I got to do the Nomad character, because apparently that's pretty interesting. So we'll see what happens. So that's it. That's just sort of my Cyberpunk rant / reaction to the commitment of quality video they released. And best of luck to all of them. And everyone take care.